Hello, happy Wednesday. I've had some people ask me to maybe give them some advice, some tips about how I think people should lose weight, how I've lost weight. So I thought, well, today's the day. I am going to make a video, just kind of give my 2 cents. I mean, we all have to do the research. We all have to figure out what's going to work for us. But maybe you started out like me. Maybe you're over 300 pounds and you've done the Weight Watchers, you've done the Nutrisystem, you've done the Herbalife, you've done counting calories. Maybe you've done everything and you are just at your wits' end. Maybe you feel defeated and feel like you're never going to lose weight. That's the stage I was at. I was desperate. I was considering weight loss surgery. I was trying to figure out what I could do, what was going to work for me. And I came to the conclusion after doing some soul searching, I recognized that my problem was that I was an addict. I was addicted to sugar. I was addicted to carbs. I had an addiction problem. And so for me, my research then turned into, okay, how do you I was also addicted to food in general. Just eating itself gives me a high. So I had to turn my mind towards, okay, when you have to eat every day, what can help with that? So for me, I did my research, which you need to do your research and figure out your why and figure out, what's going on with you. But for me personally, I was coming from a very high processed food. I ate a lot of pizza. I ate a lot of restaurants. I ate potato chips. For me, everything was processed and everything came from a box. Everything came from a bag. Everything came quick and easy and pre-made. And I'm about to turn my heater on here because I'm cold. But nothing I ate was a whole food. So as I was doing my research, I went to YouTube and I looked online, and that's whenever I personally discovered keto. And so for me, keto was the answer to my problem. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, so I'm not giving you advice about how you personally should eat. But I can tell you from my experience, I'm now down 90 pounds, 91 this morning, but I'm down 90 pounds, and I've been able to continually lose that weight since I started August of 2019. So I can give you my experience and my 2 cents on it, since I'm a little over halfway through to my goal. So I thought, well, let me just share my story and what I know and what I've learned and see if I could help somebody. First off, if I were talking to my best friend and she said, Terry, I really want to make some changes. I'm not ready to do like you. I don't want just meat. I don't want to change every single thing. I just want to make some changes. My very, very first thing my first answer would say, shop in the outside of the grocery store and focus on adding more whole foods, adding more raw food in the sense of how it starts, how it originates. Not that you have to eat raw, but I'm just going to think of our Walmart, and what's in those outer shelves. So let's say you got your produce section. At first, and I'm talking very first thing, so first 2 months, my advice is focus on the fruits, focus on the vegetables, And don't even focus on what kinds at that point. Don't let that be your focus for the first 2 months. Just focus on learning to appreciate whole foods. So fruits, vegetables. See, then you come up and you've got cheese. You know, as long as you read it and it's not like Velveeta that has like 50 ingredients, not American that has a bunch of ingredients. But if you get like provolone, cheese, cheddar cheese, things that when you look at the ingredients, it says made from milk and cultures. You know, that's, if it has 2 to 3 ingredients, that's pretty doggone whole food. So cheeses, I will say I ate bacon because by George, bacon. I mean, it's bacon. Then I did not engage in yogurt because for me, it was too sweet, and so I did not eat yogurt. Plus, it has sugar. So again, trying to work out some of the processed foods. So okay, so fruit, vegetables, cheese. Skip the bratwursts, skip the hot dogs. Try to skip all that stuff if possible. But if that fits your lifestyle, okay. But I'm just saying, you know, for the first 2 months, just try it. Skip that. Then we come around to the dairy aisle. Eggs, great. Cream, great. A little bit of cottage cheese, maybe. I don't really know the ingredients on that. Some sour cream, some cream cheese, heavy cream. Then I come around to meats. Heavy cream, not coffee creamer that has the sugar and the sweeteners and all that. Then come around to your meats. Any meat, whatever meat you like, but make sure you add some fatty to it. So if you use chicken, because there is something known as the rabbit starvation diet. Eating all lean meats all the time and getting no fats, your body will be starved. So you don't want to just eat chicken every day without adding something like butter. I forgot to add butter. So butter, that's another good thing that you can do. In the olden days, it was, oh, we have to have margarine. Well, that's because in the old science, I'll let you do your research, but in the old science, the people that were paying for those studies, it was people like Crisco. It was people like Kraft. So those studies are skewed, and it was places that use sugar. So those studies were skewed, and they're a little different now. They're trying to get some more studies. But but anyway, so meats, whole meats, try to buy it in its raw form and cook it. Let's see, then you come around, dog food, no. I don't do any vitamins personally. I don't do any, I lied, I do vitamin D. But my doctor just said it was too high, and so I'm probably going to come down off that because I hate outside. I just hate it. Call me weird. I don't go out in the sun enough to get vitamin D. So then what do you get in the middle aisles? The only thing I buy in the center aisle is bacon bits, and that is the not the imitation but the real bacon pieces. I buy those. I buy lard. I buy ghee. I buy spices. So and I buy water, like bottled water sometimes. So those are the things that I get from the middle aisles, or like any appliances, like a pancake turner or tongs, stuff like that. But those are typically the only thing I get from the inner aisles of the store. Start for the 2 months. Go to a website like dietdoctor.com. That site has hundreds of recipes. Places you can follow on YouTube. Let me scroll on my screen here so I can tell you. YouTube channels. I watch Cooking Keto with Christy. I watch Dr. Ken Berry. Dr. Cywes, Carb Addiction Doc. He is Dr. Cywes. I forgot that twice. Nisha Loves It. Neisha loves it, Lovesit. Another one is, let's see, Allie McWowie, ALLYMCWOWIE. So those are some YouTube channels that as you're focusing on eating in the outer aisles of the store, you can watch those channels and gain some more knowledge about changing your diet. At first, I will say, at first, when I was shopping, I did buy the low carb bread and the low carb tortilla chips or tortillas, the burritos. Also, pork rinds. That's another good thing. So so utilize the keto type recipes to teach you what foods are okay, but don't count everything at first. Don't spend your first 2 months freaked out. It's overwhelming. It is very overwhelming to change your lifestyle, to change your diet. So by starting just by shopping in the outer aisles and only from the inner aisles, the things I listed, the ghee, the bacon, imitation bacon bits, the tortilla burritos, the bread, spices, those things, oh, and pork rinds. So for those things, yes, substitute at first for the first couple months. Get yourself used to eating different. Don't jump in with both feet and worry about, oh, I can only have this many calories. I can only have this much fat. I need to reach this number and that number. To me, that is very overwhelming. So take your first 2 months and just learn how to shop in the outer aisles. While you're doing it, I suggest you download a carb app, like a carb counter app. Then that way, plug it in what you're eating. Don't pay attention to it. It's just so you can know what you're doing. It's just so you can get used to how those numbers look. Not for trying to reach a goal, not for anything, but just for you to have the numbers and know what your numbers are that as you're as you're eating in the outer aisles. So after you've done that a couple months, then look at those numbers. So you've spent your first 2 months shopping in the outer aisles, eating the all whole natural food except for bread and tortilla chip or tortilla shells, the burrito shells. Other than those couple things, and maybe some bratwursts here and there. Other than those things, just let your mind and your body get used to how do you cook with those things. Because for years, how do you cook with butter? How do you cook with lard? How do you utilize heavy cream? Allow yourself time to get used to cooking from scratch with broccoli, from scratch with cauliflower, from scratch with squash. So learn how to cook that way, and just let that be your focus for the first 2 months. And then, so after the 2 months, go back and look and see, okay, how many carbs am I eating? Am I eating 50 carbs a day? Am I eating 20 carbs a day? Am I eating 75? And then at that point, learn process and try to scale those carbs down maybe for the next 2 months. So spend those next 2 months, okay, well, did I use too much heavy cream? Am I using too much broccoli? Am I using too much bread? Too many of those tortilla shells? Do I need to learn to eat my eggs in the morning instead of in a burrito? Now, do I need to learn to eat it with a fork to cut out those 6 carbs? Do I need to make my burger, eat it with a fork because I need to cut out the bread? So at that stage, you really, after into month 3, when you start month 3, you should really be looking at your carb count, because carbs is where the problem's at. Sugar is where the problem's at for me. So, there's not a such thing as, you have to have carbohydrates in your diet or you will die, because your body will take protein and it will turn it into what it needs to support the brain through anyway, nucleogenesis. Anyway, that process that I can't pronounce. You watch Dr. Barry and Dr. Siwas, they'll give you the right terms. So at that point, focus on bringing it down to 20 carbs. And again, you're already going to be in the habit of plugging in those foods, and by using that website Diet Doctor, there's plenty of recipes and they give you specifically how many carbs that they are. So by cooking those same things, you're going to learn how many carbohydrates is in your meal. So when you look at that site, you can do something like, okay, so for my breakfast or for my lunch and supper, I'm going to follow this recipe, and together they make 18 carbs. Well, so for breakfast, I need to figure out what I can eat for breakfast that is 2 carbs. So, okay, I'm going to have me 2 hamburgers. And don't be afraid to add meat. Meat is not our enemy. They used to say, oh, red meat is terrible, blah, blah, blah. But when they were doing those studies, they also didn't take into account that people really in their diet don't eat a lot of meat. If you think about your meal, I guarantee you a lot of your meal is the potatoes, the chips, the bread, it's other processed things. So the fact that they decided that it was meat that was wrong instead of all the other things that people are eating, that should tell you that something is a little bit screwy there. And maybe the fact that it was spearheaded, like I said, by processed food companies. But anyway, so yeah, so count your calories, and if you have to add more, have just meat for breakfast, that's okay. There's also something that you will learn watching Nisha Loves It. Like I said, Neisha Lovesit. You'll learn she does what's called a ketovore. So you got the keto, and that's 20 carbs or below. She does ketovore, which means she's very meat heavy, but then she adds some vegetables to her diet. Not necessarily 20 carbs worth, but like one day she may have 10 carbs, and one day she may have 5. So it's very dependent on what her mood is. As you will find that as you go along and you have removed a lot of the processed carbs from your body, you are going to find that your mind becomes less cloudy. You're going to be less groggy. You're going to be less sleepy. You're going to be a little bit more energetic. You're going to feel lighter. You're going to feel less heavy throughout the day. And, like whenever I first started, well, actually before I started, my staff could tell when I cheated, because they would say, you're a lot less clear-headed today, or you're more clear-headed today, you haven't cheated. So my staff could tell a difference, literally, whenever I was eating good or not eating good. So you will find that. And believe me, when I first started, I didn't care. I didn't care about my health. I cared about losing weight so I could physically feel better and not hurt. But as time has gone on over the past year, now I'm to the point where I care that, hey, I'm going to live longer. I'm going to be healthier. So your mindset over time will change as well. But that's not important when you're first starting. Who cares why you start? The point is to just start. I'm looking to see what else I have. Your mind changes over time. What to eat, what not to eat. Like I said, what not to eat is all the processed foods. You want to avoid sugar. You want to avoid dextrose. You want to avoid Splenda. You want to avoid all the sweeteners. All of those things, if you are an addict to sugar, all of those things can be a trigger for you, and they can cause you to revert to your old ways. So I avoid those. The only thing that I eat that does have that is if I eat a bratwurst, that does have dextrose in it, or corn syrup. You want to avoid corn syrup, which is why now when I cook my food on the weekends, this is a ground pork patty. So I took my ground beef, you can watch in my previous video, and I just mushed out the ground beef in a big 9x13, and I baked it, and then I made this. So it's a different taste, something quick and easy that I can have with my other part of my lunch. So I will eat that, and I will eat half of this ground beef today. And you can see I have bacon, the real bacon pieces on top of it. And then I've got a piece of Provel cheese I'll put on it, provolone cheese. And I'm going to eat half of that because I was doing, you can look into intermittent fasting later on. That's not important. Right now, you just want to make some changes and you just want to start. And so my recommendation is the first 2 months, just shop and eat the foods in the outer aisle. Second, so for month 3 and 4, focus on lowering your carbs. And then at that point, when you'll start getting in a routine. You may eat the same thing every day. You may change it up every day. But that's some tools for how to get started. You don't have to eat like me and just eat meat. But the point is, don't be afraid of meat. Don't be afraid of fat. I plugged in what I'm eating today. So for the whole day, it's going to be 1.5 pounds of ground beef, 2 ounces of cheese, 6 ounces of shrimp, 5 ounces of ground pork, and I also forgot to add probably about 2 or 3 tablespoons of heavy cream. So the total calories for my day is about 2,500 calories, probably about 3 carbs, probably about 180 fat and 180 protein. So, the fact that it's 0 carb is what is causing I'm insulin resistant. And so the fact that I don't have any carbs, that lets my pancreas rest. Well, the 3 carbs, sorry, it's low carb. But the fact that I'm also eating 2,500 calories and I've lost 90 pounds, the 2,500 calories, that should tell you that it's not all about calories. So they do like to preach calories in, calories out, but that's not the case because I don't exercise. I've lost my 90 pounds, and before I was eating 2 pounds of ground beef. So, I was probably eating 3,000 calories. So don't get caught up in the calories. Don't get caught up in the macros. You'll read about that stuff. At first, just don't get caught up in that stuff. Just change how you're eating. And then you can watch these people on YouTube. Now, Allie McWowie, she does talk about calories and she does talk about macros. And that's great. It worked for her. She's lost a lot of weight and she's kept it off. And that's great. And you can try that as you get further along. But as a new person who's still eating chips and ice cream and all that stuff, that's a lot to take in. That's a lot to process. I was overwhelmed. I was miserable at first. Don't do that to yourself. Just focus on the outer aisle foods, then focus on carbs, and then you can, after you've watched the videos, at that point you can decide what you want to do. Then you can decide, do I want to, how am I doing? Am I losing weight? Am I maintaining my weight? Am I getting the results I want? So once you kind of get the hang of that, then tweak and focus on, focus on the results. So that's my 2 cents. That's what I think. Like I said, I wish I would have started that way. I did not. That's just what I think. Like I said, I started with keto and it did fine. It did great. I lost 26 pounds in the first 2 months, or 26. And then I've lost the other 60 something pounds, because then I switched to carnivore. And the reason I switched to carnivore is because I'm a very lazy person. I want to do my meal prep on the weekend and that's it. I don't want to have to cook every evening. I don't want to have to count. I don't want to have to guess. I don't want to have to do any of that stuff. I don't want to track. I don't track what I eat every day. I just wrote it down for this today. But I want to bring this to work every day, heat it up, and eat what I want. When I am in the mood for OMAD, I will eat all of this in one setting, and I won't eat again until the next day. If I want to eat twice a day, I'll eat half of this. And eat half of it at lunchtime and eat the other half sometime in the evening time. But at first, just eat your 3 times a day and focus on the outer aisles, and wherever you decide to go from there is where you decide to go. Don't make it hard. Don't stress yourself out. Don't, Weight Watchers and Nutrisystem and stuff, those are all very technical and they're great, but you want something that's sustainable. And for me, shopping in those outer aisles, that's sustainable. Not spending money on extra foods, that's sustainable. Not counting calories, that's sustainable. Not counting macros, that's sustainable. And so that is why I eat this way. Simplistic. But that's what I know. That's my opinion, and I'm not giving any diet recommendations, but if I were somebody who is eating the standard American diet, which is full of a lot of processed and sugary foods, that's the steps I would take if I were wanting to lose a significant amount of weight. That's the steps I would take. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I don't see anything else on my list. So no, eventually I would say in month 3 and 4, phase out the processed foods. In month 3 and 4, stop the bread, stop the burritos, and at that point just eat the outer aisles except for pork rinds and lard, and the bacon bits. So that's, like I said, that's what I think. If you have any questions, please leave them below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I have lots of videos about how I'm eating, what I'm eating, my weight loss journey. I'm documenting it for me. But if I can help anybody else who's doing this, to improve their health or wanting to lose weight, I am always available for questions. So feel free to shoot me a message down below and I will respond. But that's my 2 cents on if I were to want to change my diet or start over. That's my process for what I would do. All right, have a good day.